anyway, each of these widgets comes with qualitative remarks, which means as someone like myself, I could be looking at these dashboards and I could be adding a commentary, which is auditable, it's trackable, traceable. We can see that the risk manager has made recommendations to the senior leadership of the team of what this is saying, what this is showing, what are the key points. Don't look at the matrix and go, wow, there's a lot of discs plopped on the matrix. Actually, the key insights were no environmental impact risks have been found. Maybe one too many health and safety for our liking. Maybe there's a trend here that's worrying, and we should be just reviewing something there against the health and safety system. Maybe there's nothing there. Maybe there's everything that's there. So each of these widgets does come paired with this kind of space to provide commentary about what is this saying. So yeah, sure, it's a tornado-looking chart. Oh, wait a minute, no, it's not. It's a cost-benefit ratio. What does that mean? Well, it means that procurement delays, you get the biggest bang for your buck. So for every dollar or pound or euro you spend on mitigating that risk, the benefit is disproportionately larger than if you had spent that same dollar on mitigating that risk down there where the cost-benefit ratio is negligible.
Right.
So in order to get that level of information, you are going to have to ask the awkward follow-up question. How much is that going to cost to implement? Otherwise, you can't get the cost-benefit ratio calculated. So you might say this is something that's too advanced for us. But remember I said we can toggle off the widgets. So if you don't want to see it and don't want to use it, fine. But I would recommend trying, like aspiring to, if you're already comfortable with the basics of risk management, that's a really good next step, is trying to quantify the benefit or the potential benefit. And then what this other graph on the right here is doing is just showing you the full risk exposure before mitigation, after mitigation, the cost it took to get that big change, and therefore the net benefit is this. So just grouping and lumping them together is quite a powerful story because it reminds people why we're doing risk management. Like, we're not doing it because thou shall do it because corporate governance says so. I mean, that is obviously a part of it, but quite often the pushback is I haven't got time, which is why I keep saying, oh, we're trying to make a system that minimizes the contact time, reduce the amount of time it takes to get to value of some kind. And these are really helpful reminders. This is where you spend your efforts in the sort of top 3 risks here, and what you're getting that. That's why it's worth doing this.
Perfect.
And then you can again say it out loud in the comment section. and when we say, what is this saying, I think it used to be titled not cost benefit but cost benefit recommendations. Like, if you reframe things as an insight with a decision attached to it. So if you're the risk manager and you're saying, well, look, here's what I think this data is telling us, and I think this is the decision that you therefore have to make, you're prompting them to act, to do additional mitigation of some kind, something that's going to benefit the performance of the project and the objectives in some way. It's going to advantage the project performance. So if you don't have this dialogue happening, which I think in a lot of risk systems is one-way traffic, like it's all bottom up feeding into some kind of brain at the top of the project, who are then doing what with it? Well, if you're not telling them what to do with it, then it's going nowhere. They'll just go, thank you very much. You've ticked the box, corporate governance, assurance, etc. That is there a risk management process happening? Yes. Are we using it? No, we're ignoring it. So I think there's a great thing here where if you start having a commentary, an audit trail of insights reframed as recommendations that have a question about what would you like to do, then there's an audit history, an audit trail that makes people accountable for actually doing more, responding to all the work that people are putting in. And actually that's a big part of the feedback that I sensed on projects when I used to work on projects, is that people felt as though, yeah, I've got to fill in the risk register, but I'm just going to stick it in a drawer for 6 months and not use it after I've done it once. So it doesn't benefit me as a tool on a day-to-day basis, was be the sentiment from people, because it was set up such that it's one-way traffic and there's never really the feedback mechanism. So that's what I liked when we added this kind of thing in, because it makes it a dialogue.
Hmm.
And then people can feel valued because like their insights were discovered and acted upon. Or even, do you know what, we liked your insight, we liked your recommendation, but do you know what, we're not going to do it because of these really good reasons, because actually what you can't see from your perspective that we can see from our perspective is that we've got these other stakeholders would be incredibly upset if we did what you're proposing. So we respectfully decline to implement that. I think that would be a healthy dialogue too. Not just, oh, you must implement my recommendation, but maybe there's some reasons, good reasons why you can't.
Right.
Categorization analysis. This is a pretty handy widget. So what we're looking at now is a simple count of risks categorized by certain risk breakdown structures, or who the owner of the risks are, or which function is being impacted, and then a handy summary of the pre and post mitigated exposure against those categories. So procurement here only has 9 risks identified, but procurement has the greatest pre-mitigated exposure. And so that's telling us something. That's saying that the amount of money that's potentially in that column, even though it's the shortest column, so it's like a quantity versus quality kind of situation that we can start asking ourselves. So if you're a risk manager, you might look at that and go, I'm just going to double check those 9 risks and just see how they've been written, how they've been expressed. Have they lumped together all of this exposure because of politics? Like they're just trying to hoard money. They want to hoard importance and significance on a particular risk or two to try and grab attention on these dashboards. And when you look at it, you go, I can see what you're doing, but actually there's no substance behind. Please justify this. And so that's why the bow tie, which we briefly looked at earlier, is actually quite good, because the bow tie allows you to then say, okay, well, let's break down here's the probability of occurrence versus the massive impact that you're suggesting. Let's just break that down, shall we? So that massive stack of £1 million or whatever it might have been can then become 5 or 10 individual subcomponents that individually don't necessarily add up to 100 million or a million or whatever it might have been. So you get more credibility for doing so. Of course, doing that kind of thing will require more time. So in the spirit of low maturity organizations, you maybe not there yet, but over time, when you get more comfortable with the concepts, you're absolutely going to want to think again in terms of the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, which are the top risks, and what can I do to make it easier or better to manage those risks? So you split them out into the bow tie, various constituent components, different triggers, different probabilities, which one's got the highest probability. Right, let's stick the extra mitigation measures on just those parts of the story. And then on the other side of the bow tie with the impacts, again, what are the damage limitation exercises and things that we can put in place to actually minimize that pre-mitigated exposure, bring it down to a more acceptable level. Okay. Anyway, so I like these widgets. They do that. It's a fairly simple thing, but it's a quick and easy thing. And of course, you can switch over between the opportunities, the threats, like a lot of these widgets. And there's a little more basic categorization that goes on down here as well, with just respect to number of items. And they're different kind of impact tags and things. So this, I think, would be a summary of if this project had any access date 1, key date 1, key date 2 impact tags, which is what we were looking at up here and under that. So if any of those risks had AD1, KD1, KD2, then they would be shown up here, which I think would be an interesting way of seeing which sections of my project are most at risk. I think there's probably a little more we could do here to show exposure. So a little bit like the widget above, I'd like to see exposure nailed against certain impact tags, but always room for improvement, right? But this is the publicly available version that we have at the moment.